Scene 16. O come, ye lasses plump and fair, with bosoms bold and wanton air, to the tavern's glow where ale doth flow, and a rogue's sweet kiss sets hearts aglow. Canon sang as he strutted through the velvet sheath's foyer. Hey-ho with a lusty cheer, raise the tankard, draw ye near, dance and sway till break of tide, for love's sweet sport will merry ride. Hoy, there thou art, Thrain called, his broad shoulders filling the entrance to the hallway. The black hath summoned a moot in the kitchen. A moot? What now? Canon doffed his hat and straightened a feather. 'Tis far early in the blooming for a meeting of the whole company, don't you reckon? 'Tis firmly in the full bloom. Thou hast overslept. Thrain stepped aside so Canon could pass. Canon would have clapped his friend's shoulder, but given that would require a stepladder, he slapped the Darkwood barbarian's hip instead. When did you return? Canon asked. But yestertide did I make landfall. The tempestuous seas did hinder my voyage. Canon set his hat back on his head and adjusted its rake as he called over his shoulder. How was Eldrigol? Any complications? Naught beyond my mettle, Thrain replied, following Canon to the kitchen. A band of rogues set upon our caravan, yet they fell swift afore Brackmare. The hired swords, alas, proved craven and worthless. Canon shook his head. Ah, flaying shame. Can't find good help for decent coin these tides. How is old Brackmare anyhow? Lass still got her edge? Aye, keen as e'er she was. Still cleaves a man asunder from crown to groin, as if he were but straw. Good to hear it. Canon pushed his way through the kitchen door and pursed his lips. Kocht was leaning back at the head of the table in a high-back chair, massaging the bridge of his nose, with Zara and a ruddy-faced urchin boy sitting at the bench to his left. Sebastian sat opposite, his head in his hands on the table, while Puddlewrench stood beside him on their bench, tinkering with something that gave off a random green spark, smelling of sulphur and burnt copper. Vincent stood at the foot and turned when Canon entered. How kind of you to grace us with your presence, the Shadow Mage intoned. Ah, shove it up your arse, Canon replied. Why's everyone so dour? Looks like a wake in here. Where's the good wife? I'm famished and dry as a... Sit down, Kocht grumbled. Right then. Canon sat beside the scrawny lad and scratched an ear. You look familiar, lad. Aye, you're the bloke what was with Rose the Bloomclose afore last. Why are you here? He leaned forward to talk around the lad at Zara. Why's he here? This is Kit, our new cozener and foist, she replied. Kit, meet Canon. Already met, Canon chortled. I see you wasted no time sampling the brothel's wares, lad. How'd our sweet Rose treat your young yard? His laugh died in his throat when he noticed no one else was joining in. Grumbling, he poured himself some small beer from a pitcher and drained the cup. Given how sombre everyone was, a man might reckon there was an axe hanging over their heads, and he said as much. Puddlewrench's contraption, which looked like an odd musket breech missing a stock and barrel, gave off another acrid green spark, and Sebastian groaned. You jest, Vincent drawled, but you're far closer to the truth of it than you ken. What? Canon glanced around the table. Are we in some kind of trouble? Thrain moved to stand behind Puddlewrench and folded his massive corded arms. Alas, we have crossed the law's bounds, the barbarian said, and our lives now stand forfeit to its wrath. Ah, Canon slapped the table. We're always doing that. So we bride the sheriff or a minor lord. He shook his head and chuckled, then drained his cup and refilled it. Sebastian raised his head and stared at Canon. Have you e'er seen a man hanged, drawn, and quartered? Aye, Canon replied slowly. Looks rather unpleasant, truth be told. Dare I ask why? Have you been slipping couplets about the Queen's tits into missals at the cathedral again, you sly knave? They never proved I did that, Sebastian retorted. 'Twas baseless slander, although they were rather clever similes. Chocht cleared his throat, and the lad, what was his name, Kip? Burst into tears and laid his head in his arms, sobbing and saying he was sorry. We've intercepted a communique revealing a plot to... Vincent looked over his shoulder and then dropped his voice. Assassinate the Queen. Cannon pursed his lips. And? Possessing it implicates us in treason, Zara explained. So burn the damn thing, Cannon said. If it were only that simple, Chocht replied. Unfortunately, the missive was unwittingly stolen from a conspirator, or at least a man unwittingly serving as a courier. It makes little difference. Either way, destroying it would do little to help us. The merchant will know the damned tube's gone by now, and whether he's a traitor or a fool, not only will the conspirators come for us, if the spymaster's hounds are sniffing the trail, it'll lead straight here. Here? How here? Cannon spread his hands. Were we identified? He doesn't know who robbed him, aye? Aye, Zara confirmed. But the merchant's no fool. He'll have men scouring the docks, the taverns, asking who dare rob a company man. Our client's got the bills, and she'll sing our names to save her neck. Worse, if Wellington's curs hear of a stolen letter tied to treason, they'll tear through every thief in Crownspire till they find us. She, Sebastian asked. Dare I inquire who our client was? Lady Sahanako, Chocht grunted. Sebastian puffed out his cheeks and Cannon groaned. That foreign vixen was a major broker in Crownspire's underworld and couldn't be trusted farther than he could throw her. What paths lie open to us now? Thrain asked. We could blackmail the merchant, Cannon suggested, smelling coin. Or better yet, sell it to the Calbranese, aye? You mean actually commit high treason? Zara laughed. As if every single soul under this roof isn't in enough peril already, you daft, greedy man. What? The trolls too? Cannon couldn't believe what he was hearing. Why them? Bawdy houses are already under suspicion and are well-known meeting grounds for seditionists, Chocht answered. The transient nature of the business and cash flow makes them ideal. At very best, the women will be hauled away to Maidenwell and whipped raw, but even the pyre isn't outside the realm of possibilities. Sweet martyrs, Kip cried. I don't want to burn. I seen an old witch burn once. 'Twas horrible. There, lad, Cannon said, patting the boy's back. Only the women will burn. We men will be disemboweled and chopped into bits. He turned to Chocht. Agreed then. We turn informer. Deliver the letter like good loyal subjects and kiss the Queen's tight little arse. Cannon smelled gold again. We may even be rewarded. But I'm not a man, Kip protested. I don't want to burn. 'Tis horrible. Have you ne'er seen a drawing and quartering? Sebastian asked the lad. 'Tis not an improvement on burning. You might not have hair on your stones, Cannon reassured Kip, but they'll still treat you like a man, if 'tis any consolation. But cheer up, eh? Sounds like we have an out, and one with money at the end. Maybe even pardons for anything shady in our past, or even patronage. Kip wiped the snot and tears from his ruddy, spotted face. Pardons? Before you get too excited, Sebastian warned. Our divers' sordid backgrounds and the theft that produced the evidence will invite intense scrutiny if we reveal ourselves. To what degree will their gaze pierce and pry? Thrain asked, leaning forward. Ah, torture isn't remotely off the table, Sebastian replied, looking up at the giant. Thrain grunted. I fear not the torments they might devise. Jolly good for you. I, however, don't want to be any taller due to stretching, or have red-hot pokers rammed up my anus. Cannon didn't fancy torture either, and said as much. Afore worrying about that, we must wring what we can from the letter to ken our actual position, Kocht said. Without the grill, 'tis more art than science, Vincent warned. There's bound to be more to it, but it has no logical structure. 'Tis a matter of finding combinations of random words that make sense. Do we have the luxury of time? Nay, Kocht replied. If naught comes by morrow tide's closing. He was interrupted by Grace rushing into the kitchen, her hair in disarray and clutching a sheaf of papers in ink-stained fingers. Vincent turned around to face her. "'Tis worse than we thought," she said, her voice hitching. How can it possibly get worse? Sebastian asked rhetorically. Grace brushed hair out of her face, smudging ink on her nose, and held up a heavily annotated copy of the decoded letter. It says, "Trust me, I find his ways odd, yet I say we must beware of judging with malice. The Moor who trades nearby was seen at his gate, and lest he aids Fletcher with pails, I think it wise we say naught of the matter. Should we uncover more, I wager it will show our neighbour's simple plan to water his trees. Naught more. See? 'Tis right there." "I'm not following, love," Sebastian said. "Trust the Moor. He aids our plan." Grace slapped the letter. "So Wellington's one of the collaborators." "Oh, fuck me," Sebastian moaned.